You know, there are a lot of activities going on, especially in this season of the year. So why not add something new to your life from Honda? This new revolutionary motorcycle starts quickly, has a 4-stroke motor, handles beautifully, and goes on just a little gas. But here at Honda, we said that's not enough. The new Honda CB300R features the state-of-the-art technology package, which features the newly added neutral indicator, which provides the ease of use for any age group. But we didn't stop there. This motorcycle will even tell you if your kickstand is down. Now that is something extraordinary. The newly developed front and rear suspension will ensure a super soft ride. Even your local mattress store will be jealous. So good, in fact, that it will go over the roughest terrain. And how could we forget about the newly added small-sized exhaust that gives the engine a sense of great sound and power? Wow! Visit your Honda dealership as soon as possible, as supply is limited. Honda CB300R. Everything you ever wanted in a small package.
You know, not a lot of things have actually changed. Sure, fuel injection is there, but otherwise it's pretty much the good looks that all that is left. Should you be excited about this bike? I wouldn't be, because I don't need to be. Take a look at one of the competitors, the Duke 390. In 2021, the bike cost 7,000 Canadian dollars, and that's before tax, which in my opinion is kinda insane. Sure, it has top of the line electronics, but why? The CB300 literally doesn't have anything fancy on it. All you get is an engine, basic suspension, a frame, and a tachometer. But put all that together and how does it ride?
Well, thank you for asking. This rides like a normal motorcycle. And before I even start talking, I just want to let you guys that I have a really small YouTube channel. No one is paying me to say anything. All the bikes that I get to review are from people that I know or the people that I ride with. So this is 100% my own honest opinion. But if I give this motorcycle full throttle, it's really not going anywhere. And that's probably because this is a 300cc single cylinder bike. It's probably because if I give it full throttle, I won't hit the car in front of me accidentally. And if you give this motorcycle full throttle by accident, you won't flip over your bike, just like this guy. But obviously this bike is more than adequate for in-town use because you don't need a powerful motorcycle to go 60 kilometers an hour. So how does it handle the highway? Well, it handles the highway just fine, as long as you're just going from point A to point B. Right now, I'm going 93 kilometers an hour and I'm at 6,000 RPM, which is obviously at a higher end, but as long as you're not in the left lane being stupid and trying to overtake cars, you should honestly be completely fine, and this bike will get you from point A to point B no problem with a full tank of fuel left.
So it really does seem that speed and acceleration were the last things on Honda's list, especially when there are competitors such as the Ninja 400. The looks, however, of this specific motorcycle looks nothing alike that comes from the competition. This motorcycle looks completely different in a good way, starting off from the angular gas tank, to a circular headlight, which actually features its own interesting characteristics compared to your old school aftermarket modern headlight. The taillight is not sharp in any way, but it still has a modern/classic look to it. The cockpit is also well designed, with a dash being placed a bit farther from the handlebars, which gives riders an easier time to look down and check their speed. And overall, you get a nice view from the sitting position on this motorcycle, just like what you are seeing right now. And you may be wondering, how am I able to get such good looking footage? Well, look no farther. Ride Moto has you covered with custom action camera mounts that go exactly in the center of your helmet for a precise first person view, which is easily adjustable for any riding position. Right now available for over 40 helmets, growing every month. Every mount is custom made for every helmet, and believe it or not, worldwide shipping is available. Go and see if your helmet is listed in the catalog at ridetechmoto.com. Even the seat looks different, having a wider shape than what I'm used to, especially for the rear passenger side. Although I really don't recommend taking passengers with that really soft suspension and not super powerful brakes.
The brakes on this motorcycle are debatable. Obviously, if I get a handful, it stops. Definitely not as hard as the more powerful bikes that have more powerful brakes on them. But the biggest problem that I'm seeing with this motorcycle is actually the suspension. And you're probably thinking, why are you talking about the suspension when you just said you're talking about brakes? Well, the rear shock is quite soft, which actually overloads the front forks quite a bit. And let me demonstrate you the brakes. And when your forks bottom out and get overloaded, your front tire will lose contact with the road, which will activate your ABS, which will make your motorcycle stop at a longer distance than you anticipated.
A big percentage of people that purchase a motorcycle, especially on the sportier looking side, usually like to spend a little bit of their savings on a new exhaust system. Please don't. You wouldn't put an exhaust system on your lawnmower, would you? Okay, I maybe went too far, but in all honesty, for the majority of people that will own the CB300 will probably sell it in a year. So why spend money on such an expensive part that makes your motorcycle sound kind of obnoxious? It's a single cylinder, and I still haven't heard a great sounding single cylinder. However, with the stock exhaust, this bike is pretty quiet, but if you really get up in the revs, there is still something.
Okay, that was a little sketchy.
So you definitely hear the bike, but it's not obnoxious in any way. Good job, Honda. Conveniently, this was also my 0 to 100 run, so let's see it. So obviously it's not anywhere close, for example, to a Honda CB300R, but it will gladly eat Honda Civics for breakfast and Toyota Corollas for dinner. 6.5 seconds is nothing impressive, but it's more than fast enough to get out of trouble in town if acceleration is needed. But how does the bike actually feel, and how does the throttle response compare to other motorcycles?
I'll be completely honest with you guys. All the 300cc beginner motorcycles are the twitchiest things I have ever ridden. And what I've noticed is you really do have to play around with the clutch in order to get a smooth start and in order to get a smooth ride. And I know a lot of you will probably say that I'm not properly using the controls and I'm not properly utilizing this motorcycle to get a smooth ride. And honestly, guys, after you ride a BMW S1000, for example, single R, you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about, the throttle response. But for people who are just buying this as their beginner motorcycle for the very first time, I wouldn't even worry about this motorcycle being really twitchy, just because in a year you'll probably get rid of it and buy a more faster, more refined motorcycle that performs and rides much better than these beginner bikes.
So yes, this motorcycle has a lot of engine braking, pretty twitchy on low speed, and is not the smoothest motorcycle I have ridden. But the main question is, what about the rest? How is the build quality? We already mentioned that this is a great looking little motorcycle, but it seems manufacturers are just piling more and more plastic with each year. This bike is completely covered in it. From headlight mounting brackets, to the gas tank covers, to the side panels, and pretty much everything that makes this bike look good is made out of plastic. If you take a close look, Honda doesn't even do paint jobs anymore. Everything on this bike is just painted in one single color. Then just a couple of stickers are added, which aren't even clear coated. Now, I'm not saying this is bad. Obviously, if you drop this motorcycle, plastic parts will be cheaper to replace than more expensive materials. But it just shows that even manufacturers that are known for build quality, like Honda, are also trying to save a buck. What about the electronics? Maybe Honda put some money into that?
The electronics are pretty basic, to say the least. I'm not sure when this motorcycle was released, either 2019 or 2018, and I would think for that model year, you would at least include a gear indicator, but you don't have one on this specific motorcycle. And it's kind of sad, but at the same time, it's honestly whatever, because after some time riding, you will definitely learn that at a specific speed and a specific RPM, you're in that specific gear, which is not that hard to actually learn. Another feature you get here is a little window on the bottom right that tells you if your kickstand is down. Honestly, that's kinda useless. If you forgot about your kickstand, you will probably not even look at the screen to check if it's down, and the bike will probably stall before you even know it. Innovation? Not really, kinda useless, but I guess a cool little feature to have on this pretty good looking display. Otherwise, you do have a fuel gauge, RPMs, shows you your average fuel economy, which you don't even have to worry about. This thing barely consumes any fuel whatsoever. Otherwise, a good looking display.
So yeah, this motorcycle is super basic. You just turn the key and go. But what about the maintenance? Well, first of all, this is a naked bike after all, so getting to different parts of the bike is going to be a breeze compared to fully faired sport bikes. If you are planning to keep this motorcycle for a long time, so long in fact that you will be due for valve clearance checks, and you decide to do them yourself, well, it's going to be much easier to do so on a simple single-cylinder engine compared to multi-cylinder competitor. Oil changes, however, are slightly more complicated, because the CB300 houses an internal filter unlike most of the competitors that have an external filter. This will make your oil changes a little bit more messy, and you will have to be careful tightening down the oil filter bolts. And lastly, I want to touch up on handling. If we were just talking about regular riding, this bike rides really soft and flicks from side to side really easily. The tires on this bike are really narrow, so it doesn't take a long time to change direction on this motorcycle. However, Showa or not Showa, right side up forks or upside down forks, this is a still budget suspension, and I wouldn't be too comfortable trying to lean this motorcycle into a bumpy sharp turn going over 130 kilometers an hour. However, back roads and twisty roads at a good pace should not be a problem. So what is my final opinion? This is a great little bike for people who are wanting to get started in motorcycling. I still feel it is really expensive to buy new, but used you may get a good deal. Compared to the competition, it is definitely on the slower side, but trust me, you are still deciding between trying to beat Honda Civic or a V6 Camry. None of those bikes are fast, so I wouldn't get too hung up on the numbers all these bikes offer. By far, this is my favorite looking 300cc naked bike. Honda really did a good job designing this bike, and I really do give them a lot of credit. You may also, for the same price, consider buying a used Yamaha MT-07, but watch out, that bike is pretty powerful, so for people who are complete beginners, maybe stay away and start small. Personally, I started on a Ninja 300 and then moved on to an MT-07. Was it a good idea? Yup. But could I have started on an FZ-07? Definitely. But everyone are different, and sometimes maybe it's better to start small. Plus, you get the benefits of moving up the ladder, which is always really exciting. Honda CB300R. A small, fun little bike that looks great, rides okay, gets great fuel range, and has basic electronics. Nothing more, nothing less.